Hi everyone, and welcome to this tutorial on doing research using the UNCW library webpage and research databases. My name is John Osinski. I'm the nursing librarian. My contact information is here on the screen in front of you. While all the librarians are here to help you, I'm the designated nursing librarian, which means that I work for the School of Nursing faculty, staff, and students. So if you need any help with your research, if you're having trouble, with an assignment that involves the library somehow, I want you to feel free to contact me and let me know how I can help you. Okay. And that includes working with you individually, either through Zoom or face-to-face meetings, or we can even work together in groups if you want to get together with some of your classmates if you need help on a group assignment. So let's kind of just dive right in here. I'm going to go to the library homepage, which is library.uncw.edu. And we have what we call an integrated search box on the center of the library homepage. And that would be this text box right here. And it's called an integrated search box because when you type in keywords here for a search, you're going to be searching through several different resources. And those would include the library catalog. And the library catalog contains anything that's physically in the library, plus things like ebooks or streaming videos. Okay. So when I say physically in the library, I mean hard copies of books, DVDs, government documents, CDs, and then as well as ebooks and streaming videos and those kinds of things as well. When you search this box, you're also searching through our research databases. We have several hundred research databases. You're not actually searching through all of them in this box. That would just sort of make the search take forever and it would sort of be unmanageable. So you're searching through a series of pre-selected databases when you search in this box. But we've tried to make it so that no matter what your topic, no matter what your subject, you should get lots of good results by searching in this box. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by that. So let's say you have an assignment and you are supposed to research, let's see, how about preventing urinary tract infections in patients? So you don't really have to type out a complete sentence. In other words, you wouldn't type out what are the best or most effective methods for preventing urinary tract infections, or, for example, catheter associated urinary tract infections in hospitalized patients. You would just basically put in the keywords. Okay, so let's do that here. Well, actually, let's do this. Let me paste that because I went ahead and copied that in. So I'm just going to put in preventing urinary tract infections. Okay. And that's kind of a broad search for this topic. We can get more specific by adding additional keywords such as hospitalized patients or catheter-associated UTIs, those kinds of things. We're going to leave it a little bit broader. And here's what the results page looks like. Okay. Now, one of the messages I get from a lot of the nursing faculty is that the students are not using good scholarly or academic resources. Okay, they're using things like results from Google searches, and what your professors want you to generally use would be what we call peer-reviewed journals. And a peer-reviewed journal means that when somebody sends an article in for publication, that article gets reviewed by experts in the field. So if it's a nursing journal, and let's say a researcher sends in an article for publication in that journal, there are nursing specialists, either working nurses or nursing professors or some experts in the field that review that article and check it for accuracy, check it for whether or not the information is current, those kinds of things. And then if they find problems with it, they will send it back to the author with suggestions for revision. And that may be a back and forth process that goes on several times. So a good peer-reviewed article generally doesn't get published immediately. Usually it takes a little bit, sometimes weeks, sometimes actually even months before it gets through the peer review process and gets published. But that's what makes these types of articles considered better than just regular Google searches or articles in non-peer-reviewed journals. Okay, so just pay attention if your professor is asking for scholarly, academic, or peer-reviewed, and generally those terms are used interchangeably. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for articles from those types of journals. So we've tried to make it easy for you, and what we've done is we've separated those articles that are from scholarly, and again, I'll add academic and peer-reviewed journals, so that they're like right here in the upper left-hand column. They're the first ones you see. Okay, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 6 of them here, but there's many, many more results than that. And all I have to do is click on this See All Results link, and that will take me to the rest of the results that I got. So you can see by using preventing urinary tract infections as my keyword search, I got over 52,000 results. Okay. Now looking on the left-hand side of the page, you'll see the limiters or filters that have been applied or can be applied. We know that these are scholarly and peer-reviewed articles because we selected that column from the results page. Okay. Some of the other things we can add, let's say we only want articles that are immediately available in full text. We can click that, and then our results would all be immediately available in full text. So what do I mean by that? Sometimes this search can link us to articles that are indexed here, but the article itself, the full text of the article, might not be available within the search. Okay. In that case, what we generally do is we'll put a link here that will say get it from UNCW, and it will go back out and try to find that article in a database that wasn't searched in this original search. Okay. And I'll show you an example of that a little bit later on in this video. So here's some of the other things that you can filter for. Here's a pretty good example. A lot of nursing classes will say, I'd like you to find articles that were published in the last 5 years. Okay, they want to get sort of the most current information. So this filter is generally a good, convenient one for nursing assignments. Let's go back up to the top of the page and see. I think what we have 52,000 before, I believe it was. So you can see by just limiting it to the last 5 years, it knocked it down to 20,000. Still, excuse me, plenty of results, but you can see how by adding limiters and filters, you can really start to focus down on this. Okay. So let's see what our results look like. So if I want to look at the full text of the article, I can get there several ways. I can click on the title. I can click on the PDF version of the article. I can click on the full text online, which would generally be the HTML version of the article. What's the difference or the advantage of those? The PDF would be the way the article appears in print. Okay, the advantage of that would be PDF version of it would contain all the charts and graphics, and it would be as it appears in the print version of the journal. HTML versions, the advantages of those are sometimes they'll contain hyperlinks, and you can link out to the references directly from the article. Sometimes there'll even be hyperlinks to the authors where you can email the authors from the article itself. The disadvantage of this is sometimes the HTMLs do not contain the charts and graphs that are in the article. So it's really your choice. I generally go with the PDF because, like I said, it'll contain the complete visual parts of the article. Okay, so now it's asking me to log in. And the reason for that is we pay for these articles through subscriptions. Okay, these research databases are subscription based, and so you'll have to log in. Bear with me just a second here. And it's just your UNCW email login and password. And then it should go to that Duo authentication. So what I'm doing now is I'm getting my phone ready. Okay, so here is the full text of the article as it appears in the print journal. Okay. So kind of self-explanatory at this point. The typical things you can do with PDFs, you can magnify it, you can search within the document itself. And here's a nice little feature here. They have this little thing that says cite. So generally when you're writing a research paper, you're going to have to cite your sources and cite your articles. This was kind of easier in the old days when I was going to school because we didn't have computers and we didn't have these research databases. So we would have to go to the library and get the paper copy of the journal off the shelf, and then we would read the article or perhaps photocopy it on a photocopy machine. So we kind of had like each individual article from each individual journal physically in front of us. Nowadays, you're getting all these articles through these electronic databases. So this article comes from the Journal of Clinical Nursing, which is an essential part of the citation. But because they're all kind of coming at you through the computer and through these research databases, sometimes it's a little hard to discern. Remember, okay, where did I get that from? Which journal was that in? So you have to be kind of careful when you're collecting all these to make sure you manage your documents and your citations. Now, they have these automated citation generators in a lot of these databases and search engines. Even Google Scholar has them now. And what this does is this kind of gives you sometimes automated citations, and it'll show you right here. You can download the citation into different citation management tools. It gives you an example of citations. However, there's different citation styles, okay? And most of you all will be using what's known as APA, American Psychological Association's 7th edition style, okay? So you'll be looking for APA 7th. So let me go back, and I'm going to show you another automated citation generator that you can choose APA 7th. Okay, so we're going to go back to this screen here. And these are some of the tools that are provided through the database. So you can save this item. Anytime you see a little chain link icon, that usually provides you what's called a permanent link, sometimes known as a persistent link or permalink. And what that means is that link will always take you back to this article. Look at this URL up here. Okay, if I were to copy and paste this URL or get to the article and copy and paste the URL, that might not always take me back to the article itself because we use a proxy server for this. Okay, but this, whenever you see this permalink or persistent link, this would take you back to the same article every time. Okay, now here's those little two quotation marks for cite this item. So this is the our search results from the database, their version of the automated citation tool. Okay, so you can see that it's giving me a choice. Which style am I going to use? And again, for most nursing classes, it'll be APA 7th. And watch what it's doing. It's automatically generating the citation. So this was designed so that you can copy and paste this and put it into your bibliography page, or sometimes what's known as your works cited page, which is towards the back of your research paper. So I want you to be very careful. These are great. They're very convenient, but they're not perfect. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Well, as you get more familiar with APA citation style, what you'll generally start to realize is that in APA citation style, the first line goes to the margin, but then subsequent lines have what's called a hanging indent. So in a properly formatted APA citation, these lines here would be over. Okay, they wouldn't be up against the margin. They would be they'd be indented in what's called a hanging indent. So if you were to copy and paste this in your paper as is, it wouldn't be 100% correct. Okay, so be careful with these automated citation generators. They are great and they're convenient, but they're not perfect. Sometimes they'll be right on the money, and other times you may have to make some modifications on them. Okay, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about for the first part, which was searching off the integrated search box on the library homepage. So you can see, there's a lot of these results here, and they're coming from different journals. And that's the point of this whole aggregated, or excuse me, integrated uh, search tool, is that it's pulling together articles from a lot of different journals, which we get through subscriptions through a bunch of different research databases. Okay. So those, we try to sort of make that transparent to you. I remember I said in the old days we would pull different journals off the shelf, and so we kind of knew, okay, this came from this journal, this one from that one. That is more or less transparent nowadays, but it's still important to have that information when you cite. Okay, below that column, we have what are called news, magazines, and trade publications. So these would be non-peer reviewed or non-scholarly resources. So if your professor says, I'd like you to use a combination of peer reviewed or scholarly sources and non scholarly sources, these would be articles from things like newspapers, trade journals, okay, popular magazines, those kinds of things. And then if we look at the rest of the page, data sets, databases, not surprising that there's no data sets or databases that come up with these search terms, preventing urinary tract infections. We do have some books and ebooks that will come up. The tricky thing about if you're looking for books is that when you're looking for research articles, it can look through the whole article because these are online. This the search tool can look for these words pretty much in the full text of the articles. But when you're looking at books, a lot of times it can only look in the catalog record of the books. For example, if this is a print book that's physically on the shelf in the library, obviously this can't look through the book on the shelf and find these words. So it looks for these words in the catalog record of that book. Now I'm looking at these results, and I can see that these are all ebooks because it says right here, online access, online access. So let's just do a quick look at one of these and I'll show you what they look like. So this is our catalog record, the UNCW Library catalog record for this particular book. And you can see these words highlighted in red. Those are going to be the keywords that I typed in. So this is what I mean when I say this can look through the catalog record of a book, but it can't necessarily look through the whole book. So to get to the full text of our ebooks, you just simply click on this view ebook link, and it'll be in the same spot in each catalog record. And I think, okay, I thought I had like a pop-up blocker there, but it looks like it may be working now. Okay. So this takes me to the full text of the book, and you can see that you can download the book in PDF format or EPUB format. Sometimes the publishers will put a limit on how many pages you can look at or download at one time. These publishers don't want to they don't want to give away the whole book for free in one shot. Okay. So sometimes you'll see a list of options here. It may say print 100 pages or download 100 pages. So if you have, let's say, a 500-page book and you decide you want to download the whole book in PDF format, but the publisher's license only limits you to 100 pages at a time, what you would do is download the first 100 pages and then simply log off and then come back the next day. If you give it 24 hours and come back to the same book, then you could download pages 101 through 200. Okay. So it says you can download it 100 pages at a time, but it doesn't say you can't come back and download the next 100 pages and the next. So that's how you could get a book for free through the library without having to pay for the textbook, is see if we have it in an ebook format and then, potentially download the whole book in one time or in sections. Okay, let's just see. I want to just take a look and see if I can find an example of a print book that may be in here as well. Okay, looks like I've got all ebooks, and that's going to be the case these days, is most of our collection now is in ebooks. So it will make it a lot easier for folks who are working online, or again, if you're trying to get free books without having to pay for textbooks, we may have it in our collection. Okay, so we do have some videos. It says videos and music. I seriously doubt that we have any um, CDs, music CDs about preventing urinary tract infections, although it's possible. So these I would assume are all going to be videos. All right. And what else do we have? Again, not surprising that there are no journals or magazines by title, where the title of the journal is preventing urinary tract infections. Certainly, journals contain articles on the topic, but there don't seem to be any journals with that as a title. And then we have some digital collections. We have interviews, theses papers, things like that. So those digital collections may have information about that. All right, let's go back here. So that is what happens when you use this box. It searches the library catalog, which is everything that's physically in the building, plus ebooks and streaming videos. And then it searches the research databases, which are going to be those journal articles that we just looked at. And it searches sort of a pre-selected collection of databases, but not all the databases. We've got hundreds of them. Okay. So let's go one step more specific, and we're going to go to our subject guides. So this center link right here says Find Subject Guides. And what this is my colleagues and I have created subject guides, which I guess they're sort of like one-stop shopping web pages for the different curricula. So they're in alphabetical order. So if you go down to, oops, I went too far, sorry. Okay, so if you go to nursing, there are actually 4 guides under that heading. And what we're looking for is the nursing subject guide, okay? So this is a sort of, like I said, a one-stop shopping section where you can find research databases, books, statistics, and data that are really focused on nursing and health sciences. So what do I mean by that? The search box that we just looked at on the homepage is designed to sort of give everybody in the school information. So you'll, depending on what keywords you used, you'll get journal articles in philosophy and religion, marine biology, those kinds of things. Whereas if you're on this subject guide, the results you'll get would be focused in nursing and health sciences. You can certainly use the search box on the homepage, but if you kind of want to get into the ballpark a little quicker, this page might be where you might want to start. Okay. Now I have got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 13 pages on this. Most of the time, you're just going to probably use this landing page right here. Okay. So what have I got on this page? I have got an integrated search box similar to one on the library homepage that we just looked at. The difference is that this is going to search through multiple databases, just like the other one, but it's not going to be, again, like philosophy and religion and geology. These are going to be health science and nursing databases, and then specifically ones that we license through a company called EBSCOhost. There are competing database vendors. There's EBSCOhost, through which we get Cinol. There's a company called ProQuest. There's one called Ovid. Okay, so the point of this is that these different companies license the rights to different journal articles. So you're not going to typically get everything you need in one place. You may have to search through several different databases to try to find all the information you need. So just be aware that we have a really good collection of databases for nursing and health sciences, and I've got a bunch of individual ones listed here. All right. But this box will search through some pre-selected ones such as Cinol, Ultimate, Cinol Plus, and some other ones as from this company called EBSCOhost. You can preset some limits here, for example, full text and peer reviewed, or you can just do the search and select those limits after the search as we did before. Underneath that integrated search box, as I mentioned, I've got these individual databases. So what's the advantage of searching an individual database as opposed to an integrated search box? The answer to that is you get a lot more control when you search an individual database. So you don't get as many results, but you can set parameters and limits that you can't set when you're searching multiple databases at the same time. I've put these kind of in an order that I prefer. Your favorite database may end up being Ovid MCare, or you may like the ProQuest Nursing and Allied Health database. So they're in no particular order other than I kind of find these the most helpful. And then as we go down, I found that, you probably would use these maybe less than you would use these. But again, it's really up to your preferred personal choice. What I don't like about this software that I had to use, I like the fact that it's a tabular format. So these are the different tabs. But what I don't like is that, number one, the tabs don't show up very well when they're on the screen. And number two, the link to the database itself shows up down here. Okay. So if you're on the bottom rows, it's pretty easy to see because you can see as I'm clicking, these things switch. All right. But if you're up here on the top row, you may not see on your screen that the link to the database itself is down here. So that's why I put here, click here, then scroll down. Okay. So when I'm selecting Cinol Ultimate up here, to get to Cinol Ultimate, I've got to click on the link down here. Apologize for that, but that was the software I had to work with. Okay. So this is what the interface for Cinol Ultimate looks like. I mentioned to you this company called EBSCOhost, so they're the vendor that um, through which we get that. Let's go ahead and put the same search term in there. Okay. What I like about Cinol number one is this autocomplete. Okay. Let me show you an example of what I mean by that. Let's say I'm typing in high blood pressure. This gives me some options. It gives me options that I either may not have thought of, or other words that an author may have used. So if I start typing in high blood pressure and I see, "Ooh, wait a minute, maybe the author used the word hypertension, or systolic or diastolic." So if I'm presented with these options connected by the word "or," if I'm trying to do a really broad search, I may want to go ahead and select these. And that way I'm searching for high blood pressure or hypertension or systolic and so on. So that makes the search bigger and gives me more options. Right? So that autocomplete is a kind of nice function. I'll show you that. Like, let's say we do UTI. All right. It says, well, how about UTI or urinary tract infection or urinary tract infections? So we'll do that. So I've got these words connected by the word "or," which makes the search bigger. And then I've got these boxes connected by the word "and." So when you have anything connected by the word "and," that actually limits the search and makes it a little bit tighter. So if I just had this box filled, I would look for articles about high blood pressure, hypertension, and so on. But by adding this connected by "and," I'm saying it also, the article needs to be about hypertension, but it also has to be about patients with UTI. Okay, so that makes it a more focused search when I have those words connected by the word, those search terms connected by the word "and." All right, I've got 558 results. And let me scroll down a little bit. So what you're hoping to find, I mentioned full text before. What you're hoping to find are the articles fully available, immediately available in full text. Sometimes they're in PDF, sometimes they're in HTML, or in this case, they're available in both. Sometimes you'll get this "get it from UNCW," as I mentioned before. What that means is this article is indexed here in Cinol, but Cinol doesn't have the licensing rights for it. Okay. So what we will try to do, what the library is going to try to do, is connect you to this article in as few mouse clicks as possible. So when you see "get it from UNCW," you click on that, and what it's going to do, it's going to leave Cinol and go back through our other databases to see, okay, does this article appear in one of our other databases? And it either will or it won't. If it does, this will connect you with a link to the article. In this case, it says, "I'm sorry, UNCW Library does not have this article. Would you like to request it through interlibrary loan?" And if you would, this is a free service. So you click on that, and this is an interlibrary loan request. And you can see we've searched for this article, and so the form is already populated with all this information. We don't have to type it or copy and paste it in. It's already there. And you would just hit submit request. And this article would be sent to you as a PDF attachment in an email at no charge to you. Okay, so that's what interlibrary loan is. It's a free service where libraries help each other out by providing books, articles, videos, whatever. All right, back to the results list. Okay, and I mentioned before that one of the reasons I would use an individual database as opposed to an integrated search box that searches multiple databases is the level of control. Now you can see these filters. They're similar to the ones that we had before. Okay, you can slide this over and do last 5 years or however many years you want to do. So that's really not any different than what we had before. But if we go back to the previous screen, I'm going to show you what I mean. Okay, so this was the landing screen when we selected Cinema Ultimate. Let's say your professor says, I want you to, let's get down here and I'll show you what I mean. I want you to find articles that are specifically focused on male patients or female patients, or I want you to find infant or adolescent or elderly age groups. Okay. I want you to find articles that are focused on Australia and New Zealand, that kind of thing. So that's what's nice about searching an individual database, especially one like this, is you get this level of control that you don't get with the other ones. Okay. Publication date, we've already talked about that. What else do they have? Evidence-based practice articles. The other thing you're going to get into at some point, if not in this course, in another course, you're going to get into what's called the levels of evidence, and probably more specifically, it'll be the Johns Hopkins levels of evidence. And what that is it's that sort of rating different types of articles and giving some more credibility than others. And you'll usually see this illustrated as a pyramid. And at the top of the pyramid will be things like systematic reviews, meta-analyses, or systematic reviews of randomized control trials, more specifically. So let's say your professor says, I want you to find systematic reviews on such and such a topic. Well, you can do your search and sort through your results and sort through them to try to find just systematic reviews or just randomized control trials, or you can use this publication type filter. Okay, and let's see what we got here. So you can see you've got things like randomized control trials, research instruments, systematic reviews. So this is a nice way to pre-set limits so you don't have to sort through a lot of results. One thing I want you to be careful of with this box is kind of small, and I've got systematic review selected. And let's say I also want randomized controlled trials, okay? So I hit that one. What I don't realize, because this box is kind of small, is that when I selected randomized control randomized control trial, I unknowingly deselected systematic reviews, okay? So when you select one, when you click on another, it unchecks the first one. So if you want to select more than one, hold down the control key and then you can hit more than one, and it'll keep them. Okay, so that's the advantage of using an individual database is you get all these different filters and limiters, and in this particular case, you get the autocomplete, which is kind of a nice feature as well. All right, let's go back. So I'm not going to go through all of these. My theory is you've seen one, you've seen them all, but just be aware that they do look, okay, let's look at Ovid MCare, for example. They do look a little different, but they all kind of work the same way, more or less. Sorry, I'm working at home. Oh, there it is. So you can see here we go. We've got a search box, and then connected by the word and I mentioned that the word and limits a search. You can actually change this if you like. Usually you want to use the word and as your connector between search boxes. How you would use or would be between synonyms. You might say doctor or physician, attorney or lawyer, that kind of thing. But typically, this is going to be saved on and. Why would you use the word not? Let's say you're getting a lot of results that you don't want. You can, let's say I'm looking for articles on surfing the internet, but I keep getting a lot of articles on surfing the ocean. So you could have um, like surfing in one box, and in the next box have let's see, like surfing not ocean, okay, or surfing not web. However you want to do it, so that you can eliminate results that you're getting that you don't want. The other thing I did not mention in when we were in Cinol is there's these other boxes in front of or either or behind the search box where you can pre-select whether you want your search terms to be, as a keyword search, or you might want it to be in a title. For example, let's say I had hypertension and I was getting thousands and thousands of results. It's like, well, hypertension is an important part of the article, and I want to narrow that down, so I can change this to title, and then the word hypertension would have to appear in the title of the article. Okay, so that'll focus your results a little bit more. All right. So those are individual research databases. And again, remember the link itself appears down here. All right, I'm not going to go through each one of those. You get the idea. And wherever available, I've put tutorials on the same page. So for example, this is a link to PubMed, which is the database for the National Library of Medicine. And I've got some nice tutorials that PubMed has created down here in case you need help with that. Up to date is not necessarily a research database, although it can be used as one. It's a clinical decision support tool, meaning that it's the kind of thing that you'd see a clinician have downloaded on their phone as an app, and they would typically use it when consulting with a patient. So I would advise you to take advantage of Up to Date while you're here. It's a good resource, and let me just kind of give you an example of the kind of things that they have in there. All right, let's just do. Okay, so you can see I just typed in hypertension. They have overview. They have choice of drug therapy. What else do they have? Children and adolescent approach to hypertensive emergencies. So again, it's more of like a clinical decision tool than it is a research database. But I mentioned it can be used as a research database if you go into a particular article and scroll down to the references. You'll find that the references are all hyperlinks, and you click on that, it'll give you the abstract, and then it'll link to the um, reference in PubMed, the national database for the National Library of Medicine. Okay, so that's up to date. And again, I'm not going to go through all of these. I just kind of want to highlight. Cochrane Library is a good resource for systematic reviews. This section here is not if you're doing research, but if you need help with the research process itself. Like, for example, how do I even choose a topic? That's typically not a problem in a nursing class because you're usually assigned a topic or they give you the parameters of the topic. But things like, what is a literature review versus what is a systematic review? Okay, so these are different things about not research, but the research process. Okay, I'm going to quickly go through some of these other pages here. Usually when you're doing a paper, you're going to have narrative and then statistics and data to back up your narrative. Okay, so the narrative you'll typically get through those research articles or from those research articles, and you'll synthesize that research and create your narrative and cite your sources. But a lot of times you'll need statistics and data to validate your narrative. And I've got this page here where I've got international, national, state, and county and local sources for statistics and data. So I would encourage you to go ahead and explore those a little bit. Research tutorials. Okay, so This is one example of a research tutorial. This is a little bit long because this is kind of substituting for a face-to-face instruction session that I would normally give for students, but shorter versions of that are available here. For example, if you need help searching CINAHL, the database we were just looking at, I've got a couple here. Basic searching, advanced searching, using Google to search for articles in health sciences. Now, I mentioned a lot of times your professors don't want you to use Google. They want you to use scholarly and peer-reviewed sources, but there is a way to use Google that you can find good scholarly resources and use Google to search PubMed. Okay. Um, Useful reference sources. So these are things that I thought might be helpful for you. Things like the Nursing Reference Center, encyclopedias, APA style. We talked about citation style. So if you need help with that, there's APA style help here. The Student Nurse Toolkit, Landing Your Perfect Job, Bureau of Labor Statistics, information on jobs in nursing. Again, dictionaries, encyclopedias, kind of research based or reference based resources. Okay, the next page, more help on APA style. A nice tutorial. Good resources on research and experimental study design. If you have to design a research study, this particular page I put together for DMP students. So I had a lot of DMP students ask me if I could get books for their class. So these are textbooks that are in their syllabi. And whenever I can, if you ask me to, I will try to buy a book and put it in the library's collection as an ebook if it's available. And that could save you some money. So, for example, the DMP students said, "Hey, we've got all these books in our syllabi. Any chance you could get them?" And so, wherever possible, I ordered these and put them in the library collection to save them some money. And I'm happy to do the same for you. You can see I've done the same thing for a nursing 630 class. Okay, these are really neat tools. These are interactive databases called Visible Body, and we've got 4 different modules of Visible Body. What these are like 3D interactive presentations that you can use for, um, let's see, you can use them for presentations in class because they're 3D animations. You can actually get screenshots in PDF, so you can do screenshots. You can get different versions of like anatomy, and you can create pictures and label them. It's kind of hard to explain, and I don't want to go into it now because it's a little time consuming, but really, really nice tool for getting like muscle section or muscle systems, circulatory system, that kind of stuff. We have, in addition to these tutorials on searching, we have some videos on nursing techniques and nursing procedures. So if you take a look at some of these videos, there's some good stuff here on counseling patients, how to draw blood, how to do this or that. Okay, test prep. If you have to take any tests like the NCLEX or whatever, we've got this resource called the Learning Express Library. Click on that, and there's things like flashcards, practice tests, those kinds of things. Resources for faculty. You may or may not use some of this. This is like, for example, if you want to publish an article, there's some good tips here on how to choose a journal. What's the impact factor of journals? What is an impact factor? Why would you want to publish in an open access journal? Again, mainly questions I get from faculty, but you may find that stuff useful. And then finally, if I find like my nursing students are always sleep deprived overachievers, and sometimes they find themselves questioning why they're doing this because it'll be 4 o'clock in the morning and you're exhausted and you still have to keep going. If you get to that point, I found a couple of kind of nice resources to maybe encourage you to keep you going. There's a TED Talk here, a nice tribute to nurses. We have a film that we've purchased, a streaming video called The American Nurse, which I think you'll enjoy. And then here's a book in our collection that was written by a former nursing student. Okay, so I hope that was helpful to you. My contact information is here on the subject guide. That's a picture of me when I was going through my midlife crisis. I don't quite look like that anymore, at least not physically anyway. But here's my contact information. So feel free to give me a call if you need any help. That's what I'm here for. Okay, thanks very much. Bye bye.